the Big 12 as a whole, but you all know me. I'd be lying if I said I didn't look forward to this interview every year. Because as an Oklahoma State fan, it's always great to have an opportunity to sit down and have a chat with the man in charge of the incredible Cowgirl program. He is head coach Kenny Gajewski. Coach G, welcome back to the show, man.
I appreciate it. Love being on here with you, and I'm looking forward to catching up.
Absolutely, man. Catching up is a great way. Let's start there because I think I have some questions about this year, and I want let's not jump in hard. Look, you are still got a very young kid at home, balancing that with this job and taking care of the girls here. What's life been like for you in this last year since we last talked?
Oh, it's good. It's great. Life's good. To be honest, I'm still. We've added a little character to our group, which has been great. It's been a lot of fun. He's now 13 months. You put him in with my son, who's now playing college baseball, and my daughter, who's really starting to grow as a little young athlete and turn into a young woman, and watching her want to be involved in sports now. It's like I can see things for her starting to change. It's been a blast, and I'm still like, I get to coach. They pay me to coach. It's wild. So life is good, and it's perspective, right? And I know we're going to talk about all that, but it's perspective, and that's what life is all about, and being able to keep your glass half full. So no complaints here.
It's interesting because you have them so spread out, and I've got 3 between 2 and 6 right now, and so I've got 3 all crammed together. And so I'm like, we are like deep in it with the 3 girls because they're all so young.
Yeah.
But I'm always curious for the perspective of having, got one in college and one that's, still in diapers running around. What is that like, having that big of a gap between the ages?
It's difficult at times because I need to be able to give them all what they need. So I need to be able to go see my son. He's he's a little over an hour away. So I need to be able to go see him occasionally. But it's been beautiful to watch him grow up, being out of our house and that kind of stuff. I've got a 13 or a 14-year-old daughter. That's not the easiest age. You know what I mean? And, so that's difficult. So she has her own needs, right? And then we've got a baby, and he doesn't have a care in the world. He doesn't care about social media and what other people think and all that kind of stuff. So it's just balancing all that, and then we've got family, right? And then I've got my job, my team, my staff. It's what I love, and the coaching is just part of it, so it's just figuring it out. I mean, it's really day to day. I know everybody in my office wants me to be better with my schedule, and I'm like, I can't. I'm like, day to day, like things change every hour, and so it's like I could be better about making plans a little farther out, but my excuse is, well, it's going to change anyway, so why make plans?
It's man, that is so true. You do your best, and you do today, and you like to plan things out as best you can. But what is it? The line is, you make the plan, you stick to the plan, you expect the plan to fail, and you change the plan and adjust accordingly. And so, no, I think that's great. I think it's a really interesting segue into kind of this year of, you look at, we go into seasons and have expectations externally and of course internally, and sometimes those are aligned and sometimes they're not. I think externally there is really high expectations for this team because of what they did last year and how much came back. Obviously, you lost some really key pieces off of last year's team. I mean, Lexi Kilfoyle, especially, and what she was able to do in the circle now that she's there on staff. And credit to her doing a fantastic job with Ryan Breeden doing the road radio calls sometimes this season. It's been fun to hear her on there. But then we get into this season, and it feels like it's more of a season of it's a little less decided, I think, at this point in the season. I think some of us kind of thought going into the year, and even after that first game, you've got a coaching staff where you've had Riley Crandall. We'll talk more about her in a minute, where she's had to miss some time with injury. You're relying on Ruby an awful lot out of the transfer portal. You've seen a defense that's kind of made more mistakes than we've kind of expected to see from them the last few years. You've made a lot of changes to your lineup throughout the season. You've moved around from first base to the bullpen to back to third where you usually are. Does it feel like for you this season compared to others where you're still trying to work things out later in the season than usual, or is this really just kind of what things are usually like for you in this program?
I think that we forget how hard the seasons are. We remember the end because it's the end way better than the middle part of the journey or the beginning of the journey. We tend to forget that stuff, and when you're in the moment, things are really hard. And I don't think it's been any different in any other year. I don't think we've had a year where it's just been just cruise right to OKC. That's never been the MO for us at OSU. I don't know for others. I can remember at my years at Florida, it was never like that. Even though we won a lot, we went through stretches where we just didn't play well. So this is the season. For us, we've had some little things that have moved around. Like you mentioned about me, I started in the dugout or at first, and then the dugout and now third. That wasn't anything that Coach Berge wasn't doing. It was like I just couldn't feel like I could be my best me. And this is part of like figuring things out and going through. We've got to, we're managing expectations, which is, maybe it's not new, but it's different because we have some pieces that have never had expectations. We've got, a couple of our sophomores who are going through like finding out that people have a year of film on you now, that if you can't adjust, they're just going to keep wearing it out until you do adjust. And then it creates different pressures. And then, we've done up to this point a really good job with our transfers, of getting them comfy. And we're not quite there yet, but we're starting to. So just a lot of weird stuff. But no excuses. We can use them all. We can. I mean, I can give you all kinds of things. We can talk about all kinds of stuff. The schedule, and we only played 6 home games out of 34 games. I can give you all that, but I'll still going to tell you we're underachieving for who we're capable of being. And I would tell you our kids would say the same thing. So the beautiful thing about this is we still have a lot of games left, and the most important part of our year is still in front of us. And so that's what we have to be reminded of. And that's the way we got to go about this thing. So it's what makes coaching. Has very little to do with softball. It's got a lot to do with a lot of things, and with many other things outside of our game. So just our journey. It's the journey that we're earning, and we're on. And if we don't like the journey, then we have a chance to turn left or turn right or keep going straight, and that's what we've got to figure out. What's the best roadmap to getting to where this team wants to get to? And sometimes it doesn't look the way you thought. You may hit some construction, and we're in the middle of that construction now.
One of the things this year, obviously, you mentioned Coach Bergeron. I know we had Rosie Davison earlier this season. Coach Berge is the name you guys have for him. I'll just call him Coach Bergeron. This has been a change with him kind of taking over at third base for quite some time and taking over the defense, which is the spot that you had been coaching yourself. Kind of mentioned we've seen an uptick in some of the errors this year compared to the last few. Is this still just a learning process of trying to get completely comfortable with some of the things that he's teaching them, which are obviously a little bit different than some of the ways that you have done things in the past?
Yeah, I don't actually think I don't know that I totally subscribe to that.
Okay.
I think we're about normal. We had I think our defense has actually been pretty good. Our outfield play, which is what I'm coaching, has actually been the worst part of our defense. We went to Georgia and I think we made 5 errors, and they were all, I believe they were all in our outfield or for the 5. We're not making plays out there like we're capable of. We had a chance to make plays in Arizona that we didn't make. And they were in the outfield. I am very happy. Other than our outfield play, I've been very happy. Our catching has been, we're throwing out a lot of kids. Like Audrey's thrown out 6 of 7 runners. I think Amanda's thrown out about half, which is probably over the normal. So we're doing some really good things there. And then you deal with, we have other things, like a lot of things that go into defense too, are pitchers that execute spots in location. And we're not doing that as consistently as a staff as we can. So it puts pressure on other things. So I actually think we're okay there. I think the real issues that we have are offense and somebody stepping up behind Ruby. Those are really our key concerns right now that we're focused on and trying to work through and figure out how to make that go, to be very honest.
You mentioned the offense, and it feels like the hits are there. It doesn't feel like there's a significant decrease in hits. It just doesn't feel like the runs are coming through the way that they have in the past. And
yeah,
obviously Rosie Davis has been awesome. I think she's begotten the reputation of, like, if there's somebody on in scoring position, she's going to find a way to get them home most of the time. What is it about this year where that's been the struggle? Because you look at, I think you mentioned some of the sophomores and struggles they're having. I think of Carly Godwin, who it's not like her batting average is significantly off from last year. It's just she's getting the hits, but the runs aren't as high, the RBI aren't as high. What is it about this year where that's been the issue? How do we get from, or how do we kind of fix that?
Well, I think, if I had that answer, I'd be writing books.
Fair enough.
But it's been a unique start for us. Like we had this talk the other day, and I just had it this morning with Vanessa as well, or a discussion, not a talk, but we're not walking enough. We're probably not striking out enough, to be honest. That sounds weird. But we're not doing either one of those things enough. And so what it's caused us to be, the result is we're not hitting a lot of balls hard. We're kind of in between. I like to call it, we're in between speeds, where we're putting a lot of balls in play, but not hard. And so that's the mentality that we're in, or the area or place that we're in now. And we've got to get ourselves out of that. We're not hitting enough balls hard for people that have crazy exit velo. We're not seeing that enough. And we're making people aren't making enough errors on us because we're not hitting enough balls hard. We're not putting enough people on their toes. And so when that happens, they're not uncomfy. And so we've got to get ourselves there. We're going to talk about some things here today that we're going to try to adjust on. And it's not philosophy, and it's not our information. It's more of a mentality. And we're going to put some more ownership on these kids. And I think that's how you go about this. You just try to keep turning that dial either way to figure out where the sweet spot is. And hitting is a crazy thing. Like, it's like, if you think about, it's a guy that we talk to a lot. He talks about a teeter-totter. How do you keep it balanced, and just kind of here and here. And a lot of times you get going so good, and you're going so good, and now you're up here, and or you get down here, and you're doing the same things that you were doing, but you got to balance them back out because people are seeing that and pitching you a different way. So it's like, how do I stay balanced, and how do I realize when it starts going the other way, what I've got to do to fight that? So we just got a lot of stuff going. We have a still a new team to OSU. We got a lot of new people that are playing that are haven't had expectation before like this. And really the only person that's handling it well is Ruby. She's handling that expectation well. So that's what makes the season great. And that's really where we're at. I'm as frustrated as anyone, but the one thing I can tell you is, man, I love this team. Like, I love them. I mean, and I don't know that they love each other yet. Like I love them. That's part of a team that's molding into the right people and the right group. That's something I'm going to talk to him about here today. And I wish I could tell you that I was the inventor of that right there, but I heard it from Gino after his interview to Holly Rowe. After UConn won a couple of days back, it just hit me. Like, it was after a game. I listened to it. I was like, man, these guys they like each other. They're all good, but I don't know that they love each other the way you have to love each other to win the final game. And maybe that's not what this team wants. I don't know. That's what they say, but doing that is really difficult and lonely and hard. And if you're not willing to go there, then you're probably just willing to be a postseason team, not be a contender in the final 8.
That's really interesting. I know how culture is a buzzword that gets thrown around a lot in sports. I think I've mentioned this to another coach previously, of like, especially in football and stuff. And it does feel like I don't know what it is. It feels like in softball, it's more important. Almost like the smaller your roster is, sometimes culture is even more important than the big ones, which you'd think be the other way around. And I know that culture for you is huge. I think it goes into a lot of your decisions. Obviously, who you bring in as far as players, who you bring in as far as staff. I think that's a big part of why we see Carrie Eberly and we see Vanessa Shippey, 2 former players here on staff for you. You see so many former players stay around to be grad assistants and so on and so forth, because that they play such a big role and have that experience in the culture that you built there. Do you feel like that culture now has I don't want to say self-sustaining, but it's established enough that you're not having to reinvent it every year, or you're not having to completely coach it from the ground up every year? Or is this such a young roster, because you've got so many sophomores and juniors and transfers in who are new to this roster, that maybe it doesn't feel as established as it has in past years when you've had rosters who were there for their entire 4-year career?
It's a great question. And I'm going to give you a very honest answer, because that's the way I feel. And yeah, culture is not self-sustaining unless you have a lot of the same kids that are turning over on your roster, right? And our roster right now, because it's very difficult to recruit to Oklahoma State, is we have some turnover because of the transfer deal, and that's the way we've been able to do a win. And I think I've made a little bit of a misstep this year in assuming, because of the way this team gets along, that the culture is self-sustaining. I don't like the word culture either. I say health.
Okay.
I think our health, I feel like I want it to be self-sustaining, but I think when you look at everything, there are no days off. You have to just keep working at it no matter what. And so just going through this stuff, I think I've made a little bit of misstep in the fact that I think it's there. But I heard one of my former student athletes that's now on staff, Maddie Sue Montgomery Simpson now, after a game on Saturday night, she said, these guys don't get how we built this place. And that hit me not very good. Like, I didn't like hearing that, but it's true. And the reason I didn't like hearing it is because the truth hurts. And that's something that we're going to address here today as a team. And I think that's just, it's never too late. It's never not a good time if you feel like that. And if I have former players that are now full-time staff here watching, the reason I like these guys to be around here is because they know the expectation, they lived it, they love it, they liked it so much they want to stay around and work here. Like, that's why that's so powerful. And for to hear that out of their mouth hurts me. Like, not hurts me to be mad at them. It hurts me to go, dang, where did I go wrong? Where did I miss? And how come these kids don't understand that completely? And it doesn't mean that they're bad kids. It means we failed them, somewhere, but it's not too late to get that right. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of this. There's no, I don't ever take an approach of, well, next year, I'm not worried about next year. I'm worried about right now. You know what I mean? I'm worried about what's under our feet. So that's the beauty of this. And I think when you can be vulnerable, and say those type of things, it's really powerful. So I just think it's just constant work. And when things aren't going well, it's easy to start looking around and going, what do we want to blame? Well, I like to just get in the mirror and go, well, okay, well, what are we not doing that we've done in the past? Or what does this team need? Because this team is very different than last year's team. And next year, we're going to return almost this whole team. And it'll be very different than this year's team. It's just the way it is. And so that's what makes really good coaches, is being able to, as a group, for all of us to be able to see what your current team needs, not what you've always done. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always be who you've always been. And I don't want to be like that. I want to be what the best version for this team and what this team needs.
It's a really interesting thing you said there, because you have 5 seniors on this roster, and so barring a bunch of transfer portal exits, like the majority of this roster will be back next year, especially the majority of the players that we're used to seeing on the field each game. And so from an outside perspective, from a fan perspective, you think, okay, so that it's the same team. You're going to bring in a few new players, they'll adapt and we'll get going. And so being reminded that, even if you bring back 90% of your roster, 95% of your roster, that doesn't mean it's the same team. It's a new team every year, because just because the names are the same, they are new people at the start of next season than they were at the start of this last season, even the end of this season, because they're still off season. There's still things to learn and develop as people and players. And so it's a good reminder that just because a team was this last year doesn't mean that's who they are. We are always changing and evolving, or we should be, right? Like that. I think that's an important thing for all of us, is to never be still. Obviously, we can take a break here, but I think as people, it's important to be changing and growing and adapting. I want to talk about Ruby a little bit. Obviously, she has been phenomenal for you guys this season. I think she's having arguably her best season. Coach Carrie Eberly has been great with her. Her drop ball has been fantastic. I mean, you have had to play her, I think, a bit more than you probably had planned to coming into the season. And I know that she's been quoted saying like she's happy. She wants to be in the circle. She wants the ball in her hand. I think most pitchers feel that way. But her pitch count's getting up. I think it was 558 pitches over the last 2 weeks, if I did the math correctly. I mean, are you guys worried about her usage at this point in the season?
Well, I'm not worried about her usage at this point. But if we have to keep going at this rate, it has a good chance to wear her down at the end. She is in tremendous shape. And she is human though. And the human body can only take so much. What that is, I don't know. It's different for every athlete. But I do think that finding that number 2 kid is important, and that takes some pressure off of her. And maybe it's 2, 3, and 4, but right now it's just like a juggling act behind her. Crandall's back healthy,
which is huge.
It's huge. We're trying to help her. Help her kind of see some things that she needs to make some little adjustments on. So it's a work in progress there. Coots got off to a great start, right? And then it's kind of faltered here of late. Things that she can fix. Kyra's had a real struggle the last year and even into this year. she's dealt with a lot of arm problems and trying to kind of remake herself, and it's been very hard. She just has some mechanical things that don't sync up always, and so it makes it very tough. So it's been very hard. It's been more difficult than how we thought it was going to go. And it doesn't mean that's how it'll continue. It just means that that's what it is right now. But if I am, that is in my mind about Rube, about, hey, we got to be careful here. So that is in the back of my mind. And that's why you see, like, on Saturday, it's why we got run ruled. I could have put her in and that wouldn't have happened. But we got to figure some things out, and it may look ugly until we get that right. And I'm okay with that. I am. It doesn't feel good. But nothing, when you lose, it doesn't feel good. And you got to get some, I like to call it short-term pain for long-term gain, right? I mean, we got to go through it. And unfortunately, we're going through it in the middle of a year through the meat of our schedule. It's been hard. And what's wild? Ruby was going so good. No, I didn't get one question about Riley for 4 weeks. Not one person asked me how come she's not throwing.
I think everyone's a little bit they don't want to ask, right? Because you're not sure, is it injury, is it performance, is it mental, is it something else? Like, do we want to broach this subject? Because had she not been back, that was on my list of questions for today with our interview. Yeah,
nobody was. I had not had to answer that one time until she came back, and I was like, this is weird. Like, nobody's even asking me about it, and we've got on media day here. We have 6 to 8 guys here, or people here, asking stuff. And I was just like, man, this is crazy. So anyways, it's just kind of a weird thing. So we're going to keep, we're keeping an eye on Ruby. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to start to get Crandall going more and more. It's just like I told her, and she's frustrated with me and the situation now, but like, she's a kid, like she's never been through this. And they don't understand. They're just being told at home that they need to be throwing more and this and that. And if people want to come watch, they can come watch. Our practices are open here. You can come watch. Like, we're doing what's best for our team. And nobody knows that better than us, because we're here with these kids each day. And we do have a plan. And the plan, if at the end of the year it doesn't work, then I'll be the first one to say, hey, our plan was terrible. We just let somebody down, or these kids down. But I don't buy in, we know to that. The plans are hard, especially if they don't include you being the number one, or getting the ball more than you wanted, or getting more at bats, or all that. It's hard. So it's getting these kids to buy in. And we spend a lot of money here, and a lot of time, and a lot of effort on investing into development. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that here in my time here. And so I'm going to stick with the plan. Even though it's hard at times, we're going to stick with that plan. And if it doesn't work, we will be the first ones to adjust.
You mentioned money, which is a great transition for me here. Continue to see, at least externally, it feels like there's becoming more and more investment in the program. You guys are adding more seats out at the stadium. I know that there was a mock-up of a brand new stadium a couple of years ago that was kind of out there. Is the external view correct? Does it feel like this Oklahoma State is continuing to invest in this program? And obviously, I don't expect you to have all the answers, because no one does on this. But as we continue to see sports change and conversations about how players are going to be compensated through NIL, or through the university, or through donors, do you feel like Oklahoma State is setting softball up for as best success as it possibly can?
Yeah, I do. Without a doubt. I mean, the way we're going to handle the rev share and the addition of scholarships, do I want more? Yeah, I want more. I would think that every coach you talk to is going to say, yeah, I'd like more of all of it. Right. They continually invest in this program with coaching and positions and salaries and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that we're lacking is just the facility. I'm frustrated at times, and that's normal. But I think my frustrations are warranted. Yeah, we're adding seats. But like our deck in left field is just going to be open this weekend. And like, in my opinion, that should have been done before the season had started. Right. And, we were supposed to have a new scoreboard up here and it's not up yet. Be here any day, but then it's going to take another couple weeks to get it up. So is everything perfect? No. And it's not perfect at OU. It's not perfect at Florida. It's not perfect at Texas. All these top teams like LSU. It's not. It's not. It's hard. So we have what we need to continue to develop and win. But it's like anything, you can't sit still for a moment. And the problem is we got a football coach who thinks the same thing, and a men's basketball coach that thinks the same thing, and a baseball coach and a track coach. We all feel the same way. So I can only speak for our program, but I'm happy that we keep pushing. And I thank God each day that I have a sport administrator who I have, because without him, we wouldn't. He's the guy that helps me push. And I'm very thankful that I've got him. And it's very thankful that I have the staff I have, because they think like me. We're not satisfied. It doesn't mean we're ungrateful. It just means you can't sit still. Otherwise you get passed up. And I don't, once you sit, you become a dinosaur, and you become a dinosaur, man, you become extinct. So I don't want that. And that's why we keep pushing the ball downhill.
You mentioned the lack of home games. We're all very aware of the way the schedule, a lot of stuff on the road. You guys are finally back home this weekend against Iowa State, a team that has been a little bit frustrating to face, but we'll set that aside.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have a really fun time with my co-host here, who is Leah Nelson, is a former Iowa State player. I'm sure she's got something locked and loaded for me. But what was it when putting this schedule together this season that led to, you really didn't have a non-conference? I mean, typically you guys have had your non-conference weekends, Mizuno Classic in the past. You've had a 3-game series against Florida State. What was it about this year where we just didn't have the home games on the schedule until, now?
Yeah, it's just hard to get teams to come here. It's hard to get to. We've got a lot going on. I had a tournament that we were hosting with Tulsa that fell apart. We had they were supposed to be at home that whole week, and it fell apart late. We have teams that will want to be part of the tournament, but don't want to play Oklahoma State for whatever reason. I don't know. And you'll have to ask them. We had the fires here that cost us two games against Houston. So we've had different things that have happened. So our home games could have been, we could have had 2 more, which would have made it 8. We could have had, 3 to 4 more games in that tournament, which would make it, 11 to 12, which would have been right about on par for where we normally are. So it just becomes harder. It's harder to schedule. People are cutting budgets. It's just becoming harder to get teams here. So we're working on that now. But again, I don't want to just play anyone, to be very honest. I guess some people are okay with just going and playing anybody, but losing OU and Texas out of our league, we've got to make sure that we get those games somewhere. And so I got to make sure that I go find those type of games. So it's just, scheduling is the hardest thing that we do. And we got to keep on it.
Yeah. Having chatted with Baylor coach Glenn Moore, they've had the same problems of trying to get weekend series and non-conference and having to, I hate to use the word settle for opponents that maybe wasn't their first or second or even third choice in some senses.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a difficult thing when everybody wants to just go to Florida and Arizona and California. Yeah. I want to, first of all, thank you so much for today. This has been awesome. An incredible interview as always. We've been wrapping up our interviews each week with just a few quick and kind of fun questions to handle things. So number 1 is going to be, if you were a player today, what would be your walk-up song?
I would probably have Zach Bryan. We have a gate. You have to open up a gate to walk out to the field. Probably so that I don't even know if it's what the song is called, but it just says open the gate and he sings. I don't even know the song. I'm terrible with songs and stuff, but I like a lot of old school rap too. So I'd probably use some old school rap, some real rap.
Okay, real rap.
Yeah,
okay, good. Peanut butter and jelly. What's your jelly of choice?
Oh, strawberry.
Strawberry. Okay. We've got quite a few. I think got a lot of honey, a lot of strawberry, and a lot of grapes so far. Which is we've always got blackberry in our house. My kids.
I like blackberry a lot. That's a great one. You just don't see it a lot. So
no.
But yeah, I'm a strawberry guy.
I'll tell you, we have blackberries that grow wild behind our house, and so my neighbor will bottle some up. So I'll see if I can get you a jar.
That'd be awesome.
Okay. What is, first of all, your hat collection, I think might be the envy of all Oklahoma State softball fans, because we're all constantly on social media crying out for more great Cowgirl hats. I don't have it on the wall, but I did finally get a script Cowgirl hat for this season.
Awesome. We'll send you one.
Okay.
Send me an address. You text me your address, and I'll get you a hat.
All right. We'll trade a hat for jelly. I'll get you some once they start growing.
All right.
But I mean, OSU fans just want to buy more Cowgirl hats. They want more Cowgirl merch. How do we make that happen?
Yeah, so the hats we're currently wearing are brand new. I had some samples last year that we were fine tuning them to get them just right, and then it'll be up to the End Zone and Chris's University Spirit and the bookstore, like those type of stores, to start ordering the same hat. The End Zone has had a lot of Cowgirls hats, and they have some in right now. They don't look like our game hat, but they do have those. Chris's has them as well. I've been seeing them carry more. We've been trying to get those guys to carry more. The bookstore has our blue hats in that say Cowgirls, but it's more like it's more like a college kid hat, that flimsy kind of type style, not one I would wear in a game, but our female coaches do wear them. So they have those. But the actual game hat that like Bergie and I wear, and our male staff, they are not for sale yet. They're a Nike hat, and so they're ordered a different way.
Okay.
And so got to be special to have one of those hats. That's what I tell everybody. Hey, gotta do something. So
okay, all right. We mentioned non-conference. If there's one team you would love to schedule a home non-conference series or a game or come out for a tournament, who would it be?
Oh, it's who we're playing Wednesday night. OU. Yeah, I mean, you want to play the best, right? And that's what I want to do. I mean, we're going to be playing Texas in a week or so. We went to Georgia. I'd play my buddy Tim at Florida anytime. They're always great games, and we're going to get exposed, and that's what you learn when you play these type of teams. So those are the type of teams that you want to play. A&M's, we got to play them in Clearwater, and UCLA's. I mean, I want to play all those top teams. Arizona, I mean, I want to play them. I want to face Nija. We've done that. Want to face Jordy Ball. We've done that. That's what I want to do. So I don't have to wish. We tend to go chase them and go find them, and it doesn't always end up good. But winning, if you're learning when you win, you're doing good, and I think we're doing that.
All right, last question. We'll get you out of here. Who's the biggest trash talker on the team this year?
Oh man, biggest trash talker. Probably Cheese or Ruby.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very okay. I have to ask because I don't know. Where did the Cheese nickname come from?
Just from she smiled all the time, so she's cheesing. So
okay, she's
had that her whole life. So yeah, it's funny.
That's good. I heard it the first time on the radio call on one of the road games, and just went, "Wait, what? Who?"
Yeah,
It's like, okay, All right.
I don't even know if I've called her by her real name. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
Coach, again, this is always a pleasure. Love having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck to your girls the rest of the season, and I hope the season ends the way you'd love for it to.
Appreciate you having us on here, and appreciate what you guys do.